Hi, I'm Alvaro Henrique, and this is the lesson for study number 8 by Ferdinando Carulli. This is part of our student material from the technical course at this Music School of Brasilia. This would be similar to an intermediate level course. There will be a link on the description of the video, especially if you are watching on YouTube, that you can get access for free to the PDF of the student material for this course. I'm also putting on the description a link so you can watch me performing this study. Now I'm just giving you tips and advice how to play this work. So, this piece by Carulli is mainly about counterpoint. Counterpoint is something that was born in the 11th century, back there in the Notre Dame de Paris, the Cathedral of Notre Dame in Paris, where is at least the oldest notation registers of counterpoint being made on the 11th century. And this is a feature that composers have not forgotten. Although counterpoint is usually associated with Renaissance music, also with Baroque music, it's still being used nowadays, including by popular composers, but especially in classical composers. So that's why there is counterpoint in this Carulli piece, although he's not a Renaissance nor a Baroque composer, because counterpoint is not a feature exclusively used by composers in the Baroque or in the Renaissance area, okay? So the counterpoint is pretty much the art of composing more than one melody at once. So at the same time you are hearing two melodies, and that's exactly what's going on here. From the very first notes you can listen to a high melody and a low melody, and so on. So when we play counterpoint, it's very important to have a very good mental image of each note. How you can do that? First, play singing out loud the note names. Especially, I learned this technique of speaking the note names when I was studying in Germany. And in German, they have a system which each note, including notes with sharps and flats, has their unique name. I know that in English and in other countries there is no system like that. But I recommend you to, it's better if you say something when you play C sharp different from what you say when you play C. I'll exemplify with the German system, which is the one I use nowadays. So you first practice each voice singing and also playing them, saying the note names. It's very important to say the note names. A, F, E, D, E, C, D, F, F, E, A, F, E, D, E, B, C, D, A, for example. Or A, D, F, G, F, E, C, D, F, E, G, A. Okay? But then it's more interesting. You create a stronger mental image of each voice if you at least once play one melody and sing the other. You can do it slower, but it is important for you at least once to think and be able to sing that other melody that you're only thinking while you play other melody. That's very important. It will be something like that. A, F, E, D, E, C, D, F, E. I played so much slower. It's fine if you have to play slower. No problem. And also the opposite. A, D, E, F, G, E, F, D, C. Also slower. That's fine. You don't need to do that singing with the same speed you would play. It is important for you to have this strong mental image of each voice, because what you think is the most you can play. Let me explain that. If you think two melodies at the same time, as if two instruments were playing, but you're doing that yourself, that's what you may get. You need to practice, of course, but you may get that. But if you don't have this mental image of two melodies going on, but just some intervals or fingerings or whatever, that's the most you will get. You will never play as if they were two different instruments, because you don't think as different instruments. The most you get is what you have in your mind. So it's very important to have a very strong, good mental image of each voice. That will take most of your time practicing that piece. Okay? Fine. There are some fingering issues here, but very easy ones. What's going on? When you finish a phrase, a sentence, very often it's more comfortable to play this A in the end of each sentence with one or with three, but it's much more comfortable to begin the next sentence, the next musical sentence, with the A with the second finger. That's fine. You can enjoy this you can do some small break, like a breath between each sentence, like a period, as you would be saying a text. And during this very short, fast silence, you make the fingering change. Would be something like that. And you can take your time. It doesn't need to be incredibly fast. You just mute, make the change, and go on. Be safe that you are ready to play the next A with the the second finger, and go on. Then you solve easily and musically the main fingering problem of this piece. There is also one challenge in the right hand. In the last bars, there are some arpeggios. It's so much easier. Also, the fastest one, if you do that with only P, I, and M, and not use A at all. Just that, P, I, and M, no more. But it's on the first and second string I can use A, and I can prove that I can. Okay, you can do that, but you're taking more risks unnecessarily. Fine. So we also, harmonically, this piece has only 3 chords. It's just a D minor, the tonic, then the dominant, the A major, and it keeps changing. Tonic, dominant, tonic, dominant, tonic, dominant, tonic, then the third chord, once in a while, dominant of the dominant, E major, dominant. Why you need to know that? Well, this piece is mostly about counterpoint, about shaping both melodies at the same time. So the harmony itself is not that important. However, it's important for you to notice where are the tension moments. The dominant of the dominant, subdominant. It's important for you to know if it's tonic, dominant, subdominant, dominant of the dominant, because then you have a better knowledge on where are the tension and where are the releases. Because your listener will follow you through if you do more expressive things on the tension. For example, if you take more time, if you do something more different, like a unique color, an unexpected ornament or something like that on the dominant, the listener still knows, or even though he or she doesn't have this strong musical knowledge, but this person listens to music, so the person knows. They don't know, they know, but they do know. And when they hear dominant, they know that there is still something going on. The music's not finished yet. So that's why you can be more expressive on the tension. Because if you are expressive on the release, on the tonic, it seems like you are overstressing something to say to your listener that you are finished, but you're not. There are things going on, and then you sound boring. If you give the impression that you should be finished already, but you're still playing after what you should be finished, then you sound boring. But if you express the tension, if you express the suspense, the thriller, the unexpected, something that people will be curious to know what will happen next, then the listener sticks to you and you manage to be expressive. So let's see how it operates in action. So you are here on the tonic, dominant, tonic. You can make longer the dominant chords or the dominant chord. Will still be with you. But if you make longer the release, the tonic chords, boring. So keeping track, but it keeps changing. Very easy to notice, tonic, dominant, tonic, dominant, tonic, dominant of the dominant, dominant, dominant. Then you repeat, repeat, tonic, dominant, tonic, dominant, dominant, tonic, dominant, and you repeat. Okay, then we have here a dominant chord as a long chord before repeating the material from the beginning in the tonic. In musical form, this is the definition of a cadence, a cadenza. And the cadenza in the musical form is one part in the music which the interpreter may improvise and create new melodies. What the interpreter must respect? First, must keep the same harmony, or at least start and finish with the same chord. So, if I'm beginning with an A major chord, I have to be using melodies that are in A major, or at least will end on A major. And you must respect the tonality, the notes of the tonality. So I have to play A, C sharp, E, and also G, because dominants also can feature the seventh easily. So my most important notes, my main notes, will be those ones. But I have to use the notes from the tonality, which is D minor. So D, E, F, G, A, B flat. Then you could use C or C sharp, or you could use B or B flat. Okay, that's no problem if you use B natural or B flat. But there will be a problem if you use C natural, because you have to respect the chord, and the chord is not A minor, it's A major. So you need to be playing this C sharp. So no C natural, C sharp. If you're doing something chromatic on your improvisation, okay, then you'll pass through a C natural, fine. But don't play as a long note, as an important note, as a note of the beginning of a phrase or the end of a phrase, a C natural. C flat, C sharp would be best, okay? And then D. So what I did a very easy, very simple cadenza inspired by the material on the soprano. When it begins, Carulli writes a jump, and then a bordadura. A note, then you go one to a neighbor note down, and then you are back to the first note. This is what I did. Play the chord, a jump, then a bordadura, a second bordadura. Then I was just preparing to finish the cadenza. One very good way to end a cadenza, which many performers did back then, is to end with a trill. And especially it's better if you end in a trillo, in a note that's the closest one in the chord from the next note. The first note after the cadenza is the A. A major has A, the notes from the A major chord are A, C sharp, E, and G. Which of these notes is the closest one to A? It's A. You cannot be closer to some place or something than its own thing or their own place. So A is the closest note to A. So I played two bordaduras. Then I'll just play the scale until I reach the A. Trillo. And then I go on. Fine. Tonic, dominant, tonic, dominant, then tonic. You can understand this as a subdominant anti-relative. You can also understand as a dominant because it doesn't have the A. Okay, fine. But you're listening so often, tonic, dominant, tonic, dominant, tonic, dominant, tonic, dominant, that when you play a chord that features the same notes that are also in the dominant chord, which is E and G, the dominant chord is A, C sharp, E, and G. I think the listener may understand this as a dominant as well. But even if they doesn't, if they understand as a E minor chord, it's a subdominant, it's still some tension, okay? Subdominant weak tension, dominant, strong tension, but still tension. Tonic, dominant, and then the same chords, but with just some more movement. Then it ends on the tonic. Very easy piece. It's very interesting for you to learn. How I recommend you to practice? First, to get the fingering well, practice as I instructed in other lessons for this level. Just play as I normally say pluck. I learned that from Tans Hallas, he calls pluck, so I call after what he called. Which is you are coming from the release, you play the note, and then you go back to the release as fast as possible. As a Kung Fu, it's not like Tai Chi Chuan. You're not preparing and make slowly the movement to the next note. No, it's Kung Fu, very fast. You are from the release, play and back to the release, play and back to the release. And it's very important for that to work. When you release after a note, first think on the next notes you're going to play. Think, imagine the finger going there, and then you go as fast as possible. And you don't need to make this Tai Chi Chuan preparation. You make a mental preparation. You think, and you move fast. You think, and then you move fast. You think, and you move fast. Think, and so on. No Tai Chi Chuan, Kung Fu. Then, second, playing each melody, singing together. A, F, D, F, C, D, for example. Then, playing at least once, it can be slower. Play one melody, sing the other. Then after you do that, and you know where the harmony is, you can play the music a little bit slower, do some control gain, so you can repeat enough to play it well with confidence, but not so much that you're just spending your time playing and studying what you already know. So a good game to use that is the true or false. Use 3 objects, separate 3 objects, or you can mark on a piece of paper, and the 3 objects start in one position. For example, 3 beans. Each time you play correctly, you move a bean to victory position. When you play wrongly, or you return 1 bean to the initial position, or you put the bean on a punishment position. And when all 3 beans reach the victory position, the winning position, then you are done, you can play it faster, or you can move to the next excerpt. It's better if you keep your practicing for some time from each phrase, each 4 measures or something like that. Then it's quite slow, the piece. So if you do it well, slowly, you doesn't need to go, beat by beat per minute to reach that speed. You can, if you're doing very well slowly, you can try on the next round playing the piece or the excerpt in the speed that you intend to play. If you face some difficulties, if you will lose the game very often, or if you take a long time to put the 3 beans on the winning position, then you can slow it down, but doesn't slow down so much to the initial beat. So you should start practicing at 40 BPM or 30, very slowly. But then, when you are doing that well, you can go to the beat to the speed that is what this piece demands. I would say it's somewhere around 69, so you can go to 69. But if it sounds too difficult for you on your first tries, then slow down, but don't go to 44. Go to something more close to 69, like 60 or 58. Okay? Have fun.